I think sometimes, and I'm sure I'm not alone, sometimes we just want to own everything and we want to keep control over everything. And sometimes in the creative process, that's not the best thing to do. Sometimes the best thing to do is really trust somebody to say, okay, I understand where you're trying to take this. Let me walk you there. And that was kind of what I did. And I'm not typically that type of person. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I really just kind of like turned it over and said, okay, I'm not going to nitpick every little thing. Like I know that we're all in this and trying to get to the same place together. So it was really a fun, scary, but awesome process.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Feger, and Empower is my middle name. Well, not really, but it should be. I believe that empowered people empower people, and I'm obsessed with empowering you, the nonfiction author, with impactful marketing strategies to help you take your important message and share it with those who desperately need it, want it, and will buy it. I'm a gal whose life was changed by a dream. Literally. And that dream pushed me to write my first book, the book that changed everything for me. That dream was the catalyst to help me capture a message I was passionate about. And in turn, it gifted me with the opportunity to merge my two loves, my skill set for marketing, PR, and communications, and my love for books, both writing them and marketing them. As the owner and chief strategist of the Empower PR Group, I help nonfiction authors with laser-focused strategy and tactics to help them write books that sell, promote their books to those who need and want them most, and build a meaningful business from a message that is empowering. Think of this as your one-stop shop for marketing insights from an author who has been there, done that, and understands exactly where you are. So, grab a warm beverage and a comfy blanket, and get your pins ready because I'm ready to empower you on all things author branding. This is the Empowered Author Podcast. Surprise! This season of the Empowered Author Podcast comes with a special bonus. In this episode, you get to meet Stacy Sassine, founder of Epic Reboot and the nonprofit organization 1 Million Monarchs. And in my opinion, she's also a keeper of hope. Her story is jam-packed with it. The Empower PR team had the pleasure of working closely with Stacy as she navigated her business brand, and we helped it take flight. No pun intended. Yes, insider tip, her brand is built upon butterflies. Listen in on this bonus episode where Stacy shares with me her experience in building her brand and collaborating with the Empower PR Group team in the process. Enjoy. Hey Stacy, I'm so glad that you were able to carve out some time to chat with me about really like a beautiful, transformative experience that we had the pleasure at the Empower PR Group to watch with you. Thanks for joining. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, it's funny when I think about your brand, it really went through like a metamorphosis. And I think what a beautiful analogy to compare that. And for those who don't know you quite yet, your brand is all about metamorphosis and change and evolution. So I want to start the chat today just to kind of level set and let people know kind of who you are and how you help people.
Oh gosh. So I am by trade, I guess, a grief support specialist. So that's what I do. I have a non-for-profit organization as well that I've launched just about 2 years ago that supports teens who are grieving the loss of a parent, sibling, or close friend. So my whole life is really kind of geared around grief, which sounds like it would be a really sad place to spend a lot of your time, but I find it really uplifting. And gosh, there's so many people that are deep in grief and they need help. And I think as a society, I think we just need to get better at supporting them. So I feel like that's my mission. That's what I'm here to do.
And let me just say for those listening, I've had the pleasure to work with several individuals who really focus on grief kind of transformation. And I always find that even though grief and the topic in and of itself can be heavy, you guys have just do such a beautiful way of leaving people with hope. Grief is something, honestly, that it's almost like change. It's something that's always there. You can't get rid of. Grief is something we will all experience at some point in our life in many different ways. And I feel like the opportunity I had to dig deep into your brand and kind of help you evolve your brand a bit helped me realize truly the fact that we need to embrace these things that are scary and learn how to find the beautiful moments in that. And honestly, when I step back and reflect on the work we got to do together, I walked away with that hope. You probably didn't even know that, my friend, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't. And really that's where I try to focus my energy with my clients too, is understanding that even if you had a death or a loss, or you're experiencing grief, you're entitled to feel all the feelings in life, not just the sad ones. And just because you're grieving doesn't mean that there's not going to still be good days. And so we really tried to magnify the good days and take those learnings and take them forward to live your best life. So,
And while your grief journey was started and connected with the loss of your mom at a young age, you've also are really an expert in grief on all different types, from loss in a career or loss of a marriage, or anywhere in between. So grief is not limited to even a loss of a loved one. Grief comes in many different ways. I know that, and quite frankly, look at what I get to do now. The Empower PR Group was born out of me losing a job that I expected to be in for retirement, right? And that loss for me was something I was very excited about, because I knew I needed to do something different and I needed that change. And I know not everyone looks at it that way, but for me it was positive. And so, again, what you do is proof that, and is proof, and I know that from experience, that bad things don't always come with grief. Sometimes the most beautiful things come from it. And I have to say, Stacey, when I sit back and I think about your brand, when we began this conversation, we had to, well, I don't want to give away the good parts, because I'm like, where we landed tells all of that. So let's go back. Okay. So I want to share for a minute on how we connected, because I also think that's a really interesting story. Just so happens that Stacey decided how many years later to publish a book that your mother wrote. Like, tell us a little bit about that journey.
yeah, I'm going to need a calculator to figure that one out. So it's really, my whole story is just really just a lot about legacy, and really everything has really come full circle. But my mother wrote a book, a children's book, to help her godson understand the loss of his father when he was just 6 years old. And she tried back in the 80s to get the book published, and really had met a lot of rejection. It wasn't as easy to self-publish a book back then, and it does have a little bit of a Christian element to it. And so the mainstream publishers were saying, oh no, you've got to go the Christian book route, and the Christian bookstores or book publishers were saying, oh, we've got so much of this stuff, we just don't have room for it. And my mom didn't handle rejection well, and she put the book away and kind of put her dream, in the top drawer. And she herself passed away in 1989, and never having published that book. And so in late 2019, I had reached out to a friend who owns a boutique publishing firm, who you know very well, and asked her if she would be interested in the book. And lo and behold, she was, and we worked the book together. I worked closely with you. You helped me with some PR around the book. But it's amazing, and it's published in my mom's name. I didn't, go try to take credit for it, but I published it in her honor. All the illustrations are hers as well. She was an artist too. So that was how you and I met. So I'm really blessed to have found Silver Tree and to have found you, and just appreciate getting to bring this book to life.
What I also think is beautiful is books have power. And even though back in the 1980s, when your mom was faced with rejection, the book's message from back then is still extremely, extremely powerful today. And it has it has also brought power into your life because it's allowed you now to start a nonprofit and to build a business that's really around helping people. Just like your mom kind of began in a small level to help people back in years ago, it's this legacy now that you get to do and bring it forward. Your mom's book is truly kind of a journey of a little boy and a butterfly. And am I correct? Am
Yeah.
I giving it justice? Hold on, I have
Yeah.
to. I have the book right here. Here we go. So for those who aren't able to see it visually, the book is called Caterpillars Can't Talk: A Children's Story About Love, Loss, and Transformation. And there's a beautiful monarch on it, and that monarch is kind of integrated into your nonprofit brand as well. But we're not here to talk about either of those, actually. That's the kind of the cool
Right.
part of what books can do, right? Books build businesses. They build meaningful businesses. And even though we had the chance to collaborate and helping to bring your book to life, the real work that you and I got to do together was when we took a step back and said, oh my gosh, guess what? I actually am building a business off of this book. And I built a business and I don't know if it really aligns with where I want to go and how does all of that connect, and help, Stephanie, help. And
Right.
it was so much fun, Stacy, because we step back and we really kind of dug into your brand story and needed to figure out a way, how do we merge what your mother's book is all about, what your nonprofit is about, and kind of this additional coaching work that you provide to people, but yet allow that to be a standalone. So, Epic Reboot. Epic Reboot. Like, I'm saying that a couple other times because I want those listening to think Epic Reboot. Like, what do those two words mean? And there's a story behind it. As any author or business owner would say, Epic Reboot is all about pressing that button to reboot. Do you know I've had to reboot my computer like 20 times today? And every time I do, I think of you. Tell our listeners a little bit about why the name Epic Reboot.
Yeah, so I am guilty of taking an idea and running with it and just sort of like, this is my idea, I'm going with it. And Epic Reboot was something that kind of came to mind when I was thinking about sort of how people recover from grief and help heal from loss. And I think about technology. Technology gets really glitchy sometimes. And I am not personally a technical type person. My brother is the technical person in the family. And so whenever I have a problem, I'll reach out to him. And 9 times out of 10, he says, Stacy, did you unplug and plug it back in? Or did you power down and power back up? And I'm like, really? And, half the time I'm like, yes, no, I didn't.
No.
And so then I'll do that. And 9 times out of 10, it corrects the problem. And I said, God, I wish
Yep.
I had a reboot, a reset button, or could power down and power back up. And so that concept became sort of gelled in my mind of what I wanted to help people understand is that you really you can reboot yourself. And it's important that you do care for yourself like you do for your technology, and that sometimes you need to give it, extra attention. So the idea really stuck with me. And then Epic is just in general, just something like just out of this world, something that you may not even think is possible today. And so though that was my idea, it was originally going to be kind of a retreat, a retreat business. And so when I had originally met with you, it was like, I just felt like I had all these things and they're all related, but they're all separate. And I really struggled with how to bring Epic Reboot to life with my own personal touch. And so I was struggling with that a little bit, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you also came with a website you've already created. And though sometimes it's really fun to take a pause and look at where you've gone to figure out where are opportunities. And sometimes when people come to us, we have complete start of from scratch. What I liked about the fact that you had already given some thought to where you could go was you had already, without figuring it out, identified like a feeling that you wanted people to have. You wanted people to walk away feeling hopeful and rejuvenated and fresh, but warm and inviting. And your website photography and images gave that vibe. However, it was also very much aligned to this technology thing. And we were like, no, Epic Reboot together, the company, the organization, the business, all of that has nothing to do with technology. It is inspired by that, but it's not specifically that. And actually, you and I had a chat, and you said, Stephanie, should I just change my business name? And I said, no.
Right.
I was like, I really like Epic Reboot. I'm like, it reminds me of like Amazon or pick Snapchat, like pick all of these like other brands out there individually make no sense. But when you tell the story around it, then people go, I get it. Mm-hmm. So we had a fun journey of kind of figuring out, how do we articulate within a few seconds when somebody looks at your brand to this feeling you had already begun to develop on your website. So the other thing is you mentioned a moment ago, you had originally started Epic Reboot as an opportunity to build a retreat and to build upon like a more professional, kind of a professional revelation and transformation. And in our conversations, I kept hearing you talk about what really brought you joy and where you really felt like you could change people. And it was less about the professional change, and it was more about that personal change. In fact, you already had some clients that were investing in your work to do that.
Right.
And I remember taking a step back at one point saying, we don't work harder. Let's work smarter. Where are the people that need you now? How can you serve them now? And how can we make sure that your brand feels that way with them? Again, I get so excited. I almost goose pimples, because actually right before this call, my web developer and I were on the phone talking about a different client, and your name got brought up, and she goes, oh, I just love how everything with Stacy's brand evolved. I'm like, me too. So we sat back and we started that conversation to figure out, okay, what do you want to do? I think that's something many people don't think about. Before you get into really building your brand, you need to reflect on, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And who are you trying to help in that process? So I think we really niched down to figure out the right people. And we also wanted to make sure, when we talked about loss on a personal level, we wanted it to be broad enough, but not so broad that all of these people would come and you weren't had the ability to connect with them. Right. So we figured that out. And then we were like, now how do you help them? Right? And so we identified those ways. And all of that was pretty much kind of figured out while we were also thinking, okay, who are these people and how can your brand connect with them? Do you remember the conversation we had when we were like, do you primarily reach out to men or women? Like, what's the age group? And I remember saying, we've got to be unapologetic one way or the other. You can help both, but with your brand specifically, because we ended up choosing some colors that have more of a feminine touch. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not going to make your male clients run away, but you're unapologetic in the sense that some of those feminine touches create that warmth that we were looking at.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that was kind of a turning point for us too, of just really, when you have somebody to talk through your brand concept with and to really kind of work through some of those doubts that you have in your own mind, it's so critical to really turning that corner, because sometimes in your own head, something might seem totally logical or make perfect sense. Such as sort of that feminine feel. I mean, originally my website had a very masculine technology feel. And I was like, and I knew it wasn't what I wanted, but I didn't quite know how to get it there. So working through that with you was really key to taking this to the level that I wanted to. So
I'm really glad that you had fun in that journey. I know that can be a very stressful journey for some people, because your business and your brand is your baby. And I think it's important. I know for me, even though I help other people with their brands, I'm too close to it. So I worked with somebody for mine and I remember those conversations because I couldn't see what others could see. And if you find someone who's you trust, that cares about literally you and your success, then when they say things like, okay, well, should we do that? Or what about this? They're coming from the right place, the good place, and they want you to succeed.
Yeah. And honestly, I found myself, and maybe it was just because I've been really, really just kind of overwhelmed with the nonprofit right now, but I found myself sort of just handing this over. Like, I think sometimes, and I'm sure I'm not alone, sometimes we just want to own everything and we want to keep control over everything. And sometimes in the creative process, that's not the best thing to do. Sometimes the best thing to do is really trust somebody to say, okay, I understand where you're trying to take this. Let me walk you there. And that was kind of what I did. And I'm not typically that type of person. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I really just kind of like turned it over and said, okay, I'm not going to nitpick every little thing. Like, I know that we're all in this and trying to get to the same place together. So it was really a fun, scary, but awesome process. So
that makes my heart full because the team at the Empower PR Group, talk about you a lot and about how, oh my gosh, we love how collaborative the experience was and how you really gave us a lot of creative licensing and freedom. You let us kind of take the conversation and bring it to life. And I say us, so in this season of the Empowered Author podcast, you hear me very closely with Madeline Copperwaite, and she is the brains behind a lot of this as well. We brought her in when it was time to bring the brand to life. So we got her up to speed. She's a vital part of this team. And it was so much fun to watch her go through this too, and to kind of see inside her brain as we were bringing your brand to life. And I remember telling her, epic reboot. So remember, we want this like confidence, but we want this conversation. And she started, much like we've kind of gone through with this season and the Empowered Author podcast, with fonts. And then she would do these pairings of the two fonts, and then she would figure out colors and do we have an icon? And so for those who aren't by their computer and clicking in the link to your website from the show notes, let's kind of describe how that looks. Let's start with the fonts. Do you remember what like your feelings were when you saw the first round of logos? And I mean, remember there were like 3 distinct font options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And I remember thinking that the one that we ultimately went with looked like my own handwriting. It was so bizarre that she was able to capture that, but it kind of that big E that's like kind of like almost a handwritten E. And then you pointed out something cute along with that one. But yeah, I loved that process of really saying, like, if I were to scribble this on a piece of paper, what would it look like? And that's almost what the effect that she had.
I have to like a little nugget of secret, and that I don't tell everybody, but I'm telling, I guess I am now on this episode. I love script font, like love script fonts. But finding the right one, like there's a gazillion out there. Finding the right one is like finding that last Easter egg that you accidentally lost like 10 years ago. Like it is like you feel so excited because it's the right one that matches the brand identity and the brand story. And I feel like when we paired so what we did is with the business name Epic Reboot, the word epic is written in a script font. It has movement. But interestingly enough, I would consider it almost a more masculine script font versus some others that are really flowery. Like it's a bold script font. It's got like confidence with it. It doesn't feel like wishy-washy. It feels very like I feel very confident knowing that I'm going to trust you, Stacey, and I know what you're going to bring is good stuff. And we paired it with a sans serif font that is very modern on Reboot. So the Reboot kind of has a, like, again, like this confidence, but it's so hard to articulate. This is why brands are so much bigger than just a logo or what comes to life. But it's that sans serif kind of block font. And we even put a little icon in one of the O's that looks like a change movement. It's that arrow movement. which Madeline and I love to have little nuggets like that because it gives more extension for marketing materials. And it also allows someone to take a step back and go, oh, epic reboot? What's that? Oh, what's that, sir? Okay. And it kind of aligns with pressing the power button on off, but it also elicits that feeling of change.
Right. Yeah. I didn't, and we haven't even gotten to the little butterfly, which is my absolute favorite part of the whole logo, but I really didn't think so. Butterflies are following me everywhere my whole life now. I've got the book and the nonprofit, which is called 1 Million Monarchs, and then this butterfly, but it's just so cute. And I didn't really see how anybody could combine that power button, that sort of reset power button, with a butterfly. Like, it just, in my mind, I didn't think that was even a possibility. And Madeline really came up with something special.
You know what she also did, and I think I was a little nervous. So we'll jump to the butterfly icon. So outside of the font, after she did that, it was identifying what's the right kind of icon. Do you have an icon? Was the transformation circle button enough? And we kept saying, we need a butterfly. You know, your book has the butterfly, your nonprofit has the butterfly. So we need a butterfly, but what I love about what she did was it wasn't a cliche butterfly, right? Like it didn't feel extra girly and childlike. It's the side of a butterfly, which in my opinion has this feeling of movement to it, right? Like, and it's so sleek and truly beautiful as a standalone piece, which I can see in the long run. So, tidbit, Stacy, when you get to this point and you're starting to do membership programs and group coaching and all this stuff, I could totally see you taking that butterfly and making a stamp of it or putting a beautiful sticker and almost using it as a seal of an envelope or of a box. Like, it stands alone and it builds upon your brand without even needing the name of your brand or your business.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. I love it.
So, yeah, I know, right? And your website, well, we'll get to that. Your website is just, we had a lot of fun playing with the butterfly on that too. So then let's talk colors, because we also went through a couple color kind of evolution. And when we focused on your first website, what I loved is it had these like corals and warm tones, even like some kind of a teal undertones that were a part of it. And you were like, I'm really drawn to this picture. I know I can't use this picture on my website because it has to do with a computer and a light bulb and technology, but there's something about this picture. And we gave that to Madeline. She took that and she pulled a couple of different color kind of options. And I think we've like hit the nail on the head. I know I'm partial, but I think we did. I think we got it really good.
Yeah. So that picture, I felt there was a glow. So the picture that Stephanie's talking about, it was somebody on a computer, but they were kind of holding this, I don't know, ball of lights or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was it was almost a feeling. You could almost feel the warmth from it. And it was, I love gold. Like, I'm just like, as far as an accessory goes, I love gold. And it had that gold feeling and that warm feeling and that sort of like hopeful feeling. And that's really what I wanted to try to replicate.
We did. I love everything about how your color palette came. We landed with a beautiful kind of orange coral mixed with a teal, mixed with some gray kind of undertones. We even also incorporated in your secondary colors a navy, really as a way to kind of ground. And it's not a dark navy; it's kind of a more purpley navy to kind of ground your brand. But that your two primary colors, when we were able to bring those to life in your marketing materials and then in your social media templates and then on your website, oh my God, like, this is why people need to take allow the experts to evolve this, because I didn't even know that this is where we would land. And through the process, not only did we did we get to share your story and articulate the brand story, but we left people with a feeling of action, a feeling of how they're going to work with you, and having had the opportunity to connect with you. And you and I were friends before we were ever in a business relationship. I knew this warmth about you, and it was really a beautiful thing to see the color palette be able to kind of be brought to life in that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
You and me both, girl. So then we took all of that and we're like, now it's time. We've got this brand. It's gorgeous and it's time to make it reality. And we built a beautiful website. So for those listening, again, you can go to the show notes and you can get a direct link to it. Or if you're listening, you can go to epic-reboot.com and you can kind of get a glimpse of of the beauty that was brought to life, both in that, business cards, letterheads, social templates. Honestly, it's been such a fun brand to play with, Stacy. What did it feel like to you when you had the opportunity to kind of see, so you knew the logo, but when you got to see it be brought to life through the materials, what did that feel like to you?
Yeah, well, so somebody I know talked me into getting professional photographs taken. She shall remain nameless. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I hadn't done that before. And I'm really glad that you pushed me in that direction, because then you are also able to sort of bring those colors and the feel into the photographs so that they really aligned with the website and the color palette and the feel, the look and the feel that we were trying to come across. And I wasn't 100% comfortable being like the face of Epic Reboot, but I'm really glad, because I'm glad that we went through that process, because I think when people are deep in grief or looking for somebody to help support them in their transformation, they want to see that person. They don't want it just to be some rando that they've never met before. And so, yeah, I'm all over the website, and that makes me a little uncomfortable. At the same time, I think people will be more apt to reach out and connect with me, kind of knowing who I am.
Don't worry, I have a whole season of the Empowered Author podcast that is focused on photography, because I feel really strongly about good photos that speak your brand. Those photos will live on for a long time. And the other thing too, you say you're all over the website. You're all over the website, but your face isn't all over the website. We were able to collaborate with a photographer. Now, Stacy, just for those listening to know, Stacy does not live in my community. I've actually never met Stacy in person, but we are one day, my friend.
Yeah,
it's coming.
We need to do something about that.
Yeah, we do. I have plans. It's in the works. But I was able to help kind of collaborate and coach a photographer in your area to get the photos that would work best on your website. If you walk away with any tips from today, one being is make sure that whoever you're working with from a marketing perspective has the opportunity to kind of be interlaced in all of your moving pieces so that strategy's there. If not, I've had many people go and hire photographers for brand photo shoots, and the photos look great, and we can't use any of them on marketing materials because of how they are positioned. So, but on top of that, what I love too is the photographer did a great job of capturing detail shots, and we have beautiful detail shots all over your website. We didn't have to use stock photography. We could use yours because it was there, and she did such a great job. So you'll have to notice and look around when you check the website out and notice those little things like the journaling. That's actually one of my favorite photos. When you mentioned that the font looks a lot like your signature, I love the journal photo and the little message that you wrote with that. It was beautiful. And that's Stacy. That is her. That's nobody else. So I think that your website really is inclusive of everything that someone gets when they get to work with you. That from what they feel, how you coach them, how you're supportive to them, and everywhere in between. And I think it also, your brand gives you flexibility. We created a sub logo of your brand for your retreats. We're ready. It's coming one day.
Right. I just need to find a few more hours in every day, and we'll get right on that, Stephanie.
I keep looking for those hours too. Sometimes they just don't go away.
That is definitely what I love about the website. And just given where my priorities are right now, I kind of have this plan for how I want to sort of roll out the next few phases in chunks. and retreats being one of those. And to have it all sort of set up and ready to go when I'm ready to go is a really nice feeling, because it's not like I'm going to have to go back and reinvent the wheel or totally, edit my website. It's really things that I'm just going to be able to slide in there. So that was really nice.
I love when you said to be able to ramp it up when I'm ready to go. It reminded me of something that I've shared with many people that I work with on the regular, and that's that there are so many opportunities that you don't have to remind yourself you don't have to do them all today. They don't have to happen right now. Focus on doing, a handful of things and get that really good and comfortable where it's like almost working on its own before you add another layer. Capture it somewhere. Like if you're a creative and, always coming up with these innovative ideas, capture it. Don't lose it. Put it in a plan. One day you'll get there, but don't feel like you have to do it all today. Focus now on where's the movement make the most sense. And how does it align back to your strategy? And you and I have had lots of conversations, and your website and kind of your business direction, I think, has evolved from the strategy so that you can focus on the things that matter to you. And now you have solutions for people in ways that you didn't have before. You can articulate those to them. So I actually think we're just scratching the surface on the beginning of the amazing things that Epic Reboot is going to bring to this world.
Absolutely. I hope you're right.
But, now listen, there's no hoping there. You give people hope. I know that I'm right. This is coming. This is coming. And I can't think of a better person for it to happen to. Before we wrap up, are there any last minute kind of thoughts you have on the process you want to share with anybody that might be contemplating working with somebody to help them bring their brand to life? Anything that you would, like a nugget you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I would say I am a cheapskate. Like when it comes to my money, I am very, very careful with how I invest it. And this was really hard for me to really go outside. I'm a creative person myself. I probably could have gotten there eventually. Probably not to the degree that you brought me there, but it was really tough to make the investment. But I'm so glad I did. First of all, I felt like a spoiled brat. Like I felt like so in the best possible way. Like I just felt like, gosh, and my photographers were even referring to my PR person, and I'm like, yeah, I got a PR person. Made me feel so fancy. So I would say it's worth the investment. It's not, you and I have talked about this. It's not, something you have to sign on for life. It kind of ebbs and flows as we have new things that we want to work on together. So, it was the best thing that I did and maybe it wouldn't have been the best thing that I did if I had not just sort of given myself over to the process. And so those are my two little nuggets is don't sweat the investment. It's so worth it. If you have a vision for where you want to be at the end, it's so worth the investment. And then also don't try to cling on to every little detail. Just sort of let the professionals do their job. And obviously you're going to be involved. But that's where I think the magic happens, is when you have other people that are contributing and collaborating to the overall vision. So I really appreciate everything that you did.
You were a joy to collaborate with, and I couldn't think of a better person to interview and allow those listening to the Empowered Author Podcast to get a glimpse into bringing a brand to life and doing it through a creative author experience. Somebody who brought the story of her mom's story to life and has now built a business and a nonprofit around it. I love hearing how people are using empowering messages to empower people. That is what you are doing, and it was truly a blessing and a beautiful opportunity to be a part of that with you. I continue to enjoy watching the evolution of Epic Reboot and Stacy Sassine, and I'm so proud of all that you've done. Thanks for letting us be a part of it, and thank you for sharing your story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I appreciate you.
Think you are ready for an author brand now? Or maybe you already have one that you are realizing may not help you accomplish the goals you seek, or inspire the people that you want to engage with. Branding is strategic, it's methodical, and it is full of purpose. It can be what helps you get from here to there, from your vision to your deliverables, from seeing a problem to becoming a solution. If you are a nonfiction author who is interested in creating an author brand or refreshing your current one, the Empower PR Group can help. I invite you to visit www.empowerprgroup.com/author branding for more information on how Madeline and myself can help you bring your brand to life. We have various package offerings that can support you where you are and how you need us. And we have a freebie just for you. Download our Branding Brainstorm Guide, which will help you be able to articulate your vision for your brand, your book, and your business so that you are ready to work with a team to bring it to life. And if we can be that team for you, we'd love to. We are ready to empower you in the creation of your author brand. Are you ready? Remember, empowered people empower people. I have empowered you. Now, with your brand in hand, it's your turn to empower others.